Okay, now we're good.
Wonderful. So, Elisa, we do not have a quorum yet?
We don't have a quorum yet, so
all
we
right.
can just skip the minutes for now.
Okay, all right. Well, then I'm gonna unofficially call to order this non-quorum meeting of the City of Monona Sustainability Committee. It is Thursday, May 12th, 6:30.
We don't need to do the roll call because I can see everyone who's here. Oh, Teresa's frozen. All right, just give it a minute for Teresa to unfreeze.
Looks like Patrick's frozen too.
Yeah.
Oh, he's back.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there's Teresa.
You know, and it always happens, and I'm sure this was no exception, that whenever the screen freezes, it always captures our most flattering angle, right? So in any case, Elisa, did you want to go right ahead then and talk about Earth Day, No Mow May, and then so number 5, go for it.
Yeah, we can swing back to the minutes if Ken joins us. So I included it in a memo just so you all could see the numbers, but I think takeaway from the Earth Day event this year, I think it still went well. We had lower participation than last year, which Resource Solutions had told us that generally in like the second year of events, they tend to see increases in participation. So it was a little unexpected to have fewer people participate, but we still collected just over 6,000 pounds of electronics, which is, it's still great, right? Like great that all of that is saved from the landfill. And then I think they're just, you know, some of the things that probably kept participation a little lower. Last year, it was still, people were still being, you know, more cautious about in-person events. So there weren't really any other Earth Day events going on. We didn't have to compete with anyone else for people's participation. The weather was also fantastic, which obviously was nice for us while we were all standing out there, but it also probably means that people were off doing other things on such a nice day. And I also think that, and this is something to think about in terms of next year, like if our advertising for the event is hitting the same people each year, it's unlikely that people are going to have the same amount of stuff to bring and drop off each year. So I think that's a good thing to keep in mind as we're like, as we go into next year's event, how can we promote it better in new places so that we can get people who maybe haven't heard of it or haven't been to an event like that. So one of the suggestions that Michelle from Resource Solutions had was to host it instead of the Saturday of Earth Day, do it the Saturday before, and that way we're not competing with other Earth Day events. So that would be Saturday, April 15th, 2023. And I'll make sure that Michelle holds that day for us in their calendar. But that might help since, you know, it's sustainability themed and Earth Day themed, but there's no reason that we necessarily have to do this event on Earth Day. So that's Earth Day. And I don't know if anyone has questions about that or thoughts.
You know, I think that is a fantastic idea to just get it on the calendar right now, hold the date for us right now. And it never hurts to get out ahead of Earth Day. It just helps kick off the week. It helps get the word out earlier, gets people aware of it earlier, thinking about it earlier. I think it's a fantastic idea. And I'm all about long range planning. So that works perfectly into my plan.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Michelle is great. She knows that we want to be doing this every year. So it's really great that she holds the date for us, because they do get very busy right around that time.
Yeah, for sure.
Do we have a budget at all for any advertising for it?
Yeah, so that's one of the things to consider when budget season comes around. So Patrick, we contract with Resource Solutions for this, and that costs like $250 to $300. And we didn't spend any money on advertising this year. We did it, we promoted it through all like the city channels. Resource Solutions also sends out postcards to a couple of the like mail routes in Monona. So, maybe one of the things we can consider for next year is putting a little bit more money in the budget for the event and like doing more postcards, or doing some like paid Facebook posts, stuff like that.
I wonder too, if we could sort of do some kind of rotating second recyclable thing with each event, like clothing, for example. Maybe there's some way to integrate that in, or have people that want recycled clothing. I mean, that's something that people have a lot of all the time, but just, or a drug drop, or, I don't know, but if there are other things that might attract people that we could alternate years on, or, that might pull people into.
Yeah, one of the things that I've heard people express some interest in is paper shredding. And unfortunately, we just didn't plan quite far enough in advance. I've like reached out to some paper shredders for this year's event, and they were all booked. So, but that's something to consider, if we know we want to
Could be a good
that,
example. Right.
just getting out in front of it so we can get on people's schedules.
Maybe we could also potentially, we could talk to the MESPA, we could talk to the chamber and get local businesses involved. I know that like mine would be happy to put flyers on pizza boxes, and that would be an awful lot of pizza boxes, and it would be inexpensive to reach a lot of people that way. But, flyers and businesses, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Super.
Yeah. Well,
See that Ken has joined us, so we do now officially have a quorum. Hi, Ken.
Hey, folks, sorry to join you a little late.
No, not a problem. So I'm going to make two suggestions. One, I'm going to suggest that we go back and cover the things now that we can cover because we have a quorum. And then also, I'd just like to use the something that's not on the agenda that I completely missed, and that would just be the introduction of Patrick to the committee, and for him to understand who is in the room tonight. So why don't we circle back, and we've got, Lisa's got the roll call. Who is missing here tonight? So Dan would be missing. We're missing Chris Conrad's moving off the committee, and Nancy is no longer the council person involved in the committee. That now would be Patrick and myself. So those two faces are gone, but Dan will be with us next time around. And so approval of the minutes from the April, it's number 3, approval of the minutes from the April 14th Sustainability Committee meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
And are there any adjustments to the meeting minutes?
Looks good to me.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay. I'm going to use time slot number 4, the appearances section of the agenda, to give Patrick a chance to introduce himself. One of our, Patrick joins me as one of the newest city council members. And he has been so lucky to have been appointed to this committee by the mayor. I tell you, Patrick, this is the best committee. I guarantee it. So, do you want to give yourself a little introduction to everyone?
Sure. My name is Patrick. Newly elected to the city council. In addition to that, I'm the owner slash CEO slash dishwasher, whatever you want to call me, of Salvatore's Tomato Pies and Dark Horse Art Bar. Yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Now you live in Monona, obviously,
Yes.
with your family, and you've
Yep.
got a couple kiddos, right?
Yeah, we live over on Ridgewood, and my son Sal is the namesake of one of the namesakes of our business. It's also my grandfather, great grandfather, but Sal is the name on the restaurant. Sal is my son's name. He's 14. He's the worst boss you can imagine. Let me tell you.
Is he
But-
demanding?
And then Joey, who constantly feels left out because he doesn't have a restaurant named after him, is 10. Yes. And my wife, Nicole.
He's still got time. There could be another restaurant in the future.
Yes. I know they should compete against each other, right? So
And then you said Rebecca, right? Was your wife's name?
Nicole.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So Sal, Joey, and Rebecca. That's
And Nicole.
And-
Yes.
and what's that?
Sal, Joey, and Nicole. Yes.
Nicole. I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
Why did I have Rebecca in my head?
Oh, no
Okay.
worries.
And so I've not been to the Dark Horse Art Bar. I have yet to do
No,
that.
it's a live music venue and an art gallery and performance space. So and bar.
Where
It's
is it?
downtown?
It's right next to our restaurant downtown on East Washington Avenue. So on the corner of Livingston and East Wash is our restaurant. Right next door to that is Art Bar.
Oh, cool.
Mhm.
That's really cool. That's really cool. So for Patrick's, well, just before I would love everyone else to sort of introduce themselves to Patrick, so he gets a chance to meet everyone on the committee. But for those that may not understand the process, so every 2 years, right? So Patrick and I will be up for re-election in 2 years. And at that time, right, whoever the new city council members may be, the mayor appoints them to committees. And so every 2 years, a new council person could potentially rotate off this committee and rotate in and out.
Or actually, it could be it's every year because I guess we reorganize right?
That's true. That's true. It could be every year. Yep. And the mayor often just tries to honor, our preferences. That's why Nancy had been on the committee for so long. But I think the mayor wanted to pull her away and take her somewhere else this time. So who would like to go next and let Patrick learn a little bit about who's in the room? Anybody? Or do I have to call people? Patrick, have you met Elisa?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, great.
I'm happy to defer to one of the ladies.
Sarah, do you have anything that you could share with us?
Sure. Well, I know Patrick, but yeah, I'm Sarah Smith. Been on the committee for 4 years now. I think it was January 2018. And yeah, looking forward to serving again and serving with some different leadership. It's going to be different not having Nancy chairing it, but obviously Teresa's been here the whole time. So that's, we have that consistency, and Elise has been with us a long time, and I think she's been a great asset to this committee. And yeah, and I'm also the county board supervisor, but separate. I will say, actually, I was appointed to new committees for this term, which we do the reorganization on the election cycle, so every 2 years. And so I'm now on the Environment, Agriculture, and Natural Resources Committee and on the Land Conservation Committee, and they meet on Thursdays. And today's meeting was earlier than usual, so we met at 3:30 today, but we typically are going to meet at 5:30. So there may be times when I am late to this meeting because of my other environmental meeting. So
Good to know.
Can you say the name of those committees again? Land conservation.
yeah, so Land Conservation Committee, and then the Environment, Agriculture, and Natural Resources Committee. It's called ENER, colloquially.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's very helpful for our Monona committee, just to have eyes and ears in the room at
Yeah.
the county level to know about
agree.
initiatives that the county's pursuing. I think
agree.
that's wonderful. I'm happy to hear you're on those new appointments, Sarah.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm excited about it.
Susan, you should go ahead and introduce yourself. I'll go last.
Okay. I've been on the committee for a long, long time. I don't know actually how far back I go, but I was part of the group that actually wrote the sustainability plan that we are sort of is guiding our committee and the city. I have also a connection with the Monona Public Library and work with Penny DePaula there, who, along with a team that we're building there, does outreach programs for the community. And a big focus of mine is trying to get people in the community and in the business community to, although I don't have as much connection to the business community, so I'm glad to see Patrick on the committee. But I think that this is a huge piece that we need to engage more rapidly now, especially with the fact that 98% of the energy we use in this committee, or energy that is used in this community, is and resources that we use are belong to half of those belong to the business community and half belong to the residents. And somehow we need to gather their input and coordination with what our government is doing, city government is doing, and get everybody on board to make progress, significant progress. So that's me.
And Susan, you're a
Thank you.
lifetime resident of Monona?
I've been here for 35 years, I think. Yeah, right. Raised my 2 kids here and
Yeah,
yeah,
very nice.
go back
Very
away.
nice.
Mhm. And I have lots of educational background in environmental stuff too. My biology degree is in environmental biology, and I've done programs since then too that are connected.
And were you in the education field as an instructor, a teacher?
Oh yes, I did work. My husband had a major stroke when my kids were still in school, and so I got out of my work in family medicine and where I was a researcher, and I took on a position in the school district with special needs children. So I would be on the same time schedule and summer schedule and everything as my kids were. So I worked for about 20 years in the school district and have done a lot of programs with them as well. So connected to community. We also had a sustainability fair go on. I don't know if you know this, Teresa, at the high school many moons back. And that was a lot of fun, and would have been a lot more fun if they hadn't had a teacher's strike the day before the fair, which made it a little bit difficult. But I have lots of connections to and people that have done really interesting presentations for that kind of an event as well in my history, although some of them are aging out, but others are coming up. So that's I have.
It's just always nice to hear from you and have you here, Susan.
Good to be here.
Ken, you cannot hide any longer.
All right. Well, Patrick, you and I have not met, but my name's Ken Walls, also a resident of Monona. We've lived here for about 12 years now, and have 2 girls that'll be entering the school system soon. My oldest daughter is just about to turn 4. She'll turn 4 in June. She might make a guest appearance at some point during some of our meetings. She likes to photobomb my Zoom calls. So during the daytime, I work for Madison Area Technical College. My background's in environmental engineering, and I lead the renewable energy program at the school. I'm the Create Energy Center. violates the first law of thermodynamics that energy can't be created or destroyed. I also have the pleasure of serving on the sustainability committee for the Monona Grove School District with Teresa. I've been on that committee for about 2 years. I've been on this committee with the city for a little over 6 months. So I'm probably the newest member on the city sustainability committee. You know, the committee we're on with the school has been super active. They're about to have a big ribbon cutting for a solar project at the high school coming up on May 21st. I drove by today, just kind of take a peek at what I could see of the work that's happening there. And they've got no mow May signs from the city all out around the high school. So there'll be advertising for us during the ribbon cutting event next weekend, no less.
Saw
So,
that.
That's
I
great.
saw that. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and it was amazing how fast the school district agreed to do that. Like, you know, they just needed a little bit of encouragement from us, and they were all
Yep.
for it. So
Yep.
yeah.
Ken is being a bit humble when he talks about his work at Madison College. He often has this background of the solar array on the technical school, which Ken was absolutely instrumental in making that happen. And at the time, is it true, at the time it was the largest of any, of what? The largest on,
It's still the largest rooftop solar system in the state.
in the whole
There's
state.
there's big solar farms that are
Right.
you know, built like O'Brien Farms in Fitchburg, or like the installation out by the airport, but it's still
Yeah.
the largest rooftop solar installation. And
Incredible.
we have a little bit of an advantage there because we've got a gigantic building,
Yeah.
but it's like 12 acres of solar that's up on the roof of the school. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And someday maybe Ken can give us a tour. That's
For
it's
sure we
really
can do
fun
that
to
again.
go there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it's super exciting. All right. In that case, let's just pop on back to the number 5 on the agenda with unfinished business. To an update, Ken sort of led into it with No Mo May. Elisa just wrapped up the Earth Day event. And Ken, what we mentioned was that the participation this year was just slightly lower than last year. And there were a number of reasons why that may have been the case, anywhere from there was such a beautiful day, the weather was so nice that people were busy somewhere else, or maybe the advertising hit the same people as it hit last year, and so they had nothing to collect, nothing to bring in because they already did that last year. Or maybe because it's no longer a pandemic, there was more things for people to do, and so they were out doing all those other things. So I think when you came in, we were just talking about some strategies that we might consider for next year.
Yeah, I caught that, and
You did,
I had
okay.
a little bit of that conversation with I can't remember the woman's name who was there from the organization.
Michelle. Okay.
Yeah, and she kind of
Okay.
indicated the same thing when I was talking to her. She said, you know, it seems like we have the same volume of cars, but the cars have a lot less stuff in them this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
She said, you know, last year people were coming with all their old refrigerators
Right,
and air
right,
conditioners and
right.
everything else, and I think we just emptied out a lot of basements last year, and
Yeah,
this year
yeah.
they just had the DVD player that didn't work anymore or something like that. You know?
And then Elisa, did you want to talk a little bit about No Mo May and where we're
Yeah.
at with that?
So the biggest update, I mean, we've got like stuff out in all of our regular promotional channels. The May city newsletter should be going out next week, which will have more information, but the biggest thing is just yard signs. So we did get those ordered. Thank you to Sarah for designing them, and for Teresa and Ken for helping with getting more of them and getting them out, especially to like all the schools. That's fantastic. We've got the sign up form is live, and I just checked before the meeting. So far we have 30 responses. So people will be coming through and picking them up at City Hall. And I've got the sign up sheet, and everyone at the front desk knows to like check people off who signed up in advance first. So I don't think we'll have any trouble giving all of those out this year. And for anyone who signs up on that form after we've given out all the signs we have, I'll make sure to email them and let them know that we're out of signs for this year, but we'll then have all their emails and contact information so that next year when we're doing stuff, we can send out an email saying like, we've got more signs, come by and get them. So, I mean, not that I'm not surprised at all that there's this much community support. And when it comes time to plan our budget for next year, I think this is going to be a good thing to include so that we have like dedicated funds for printing more yard signs, or if there are other May related activities that we want to do.
How many total signs are available for people to pick up?
It depends on how many extra you have,
Right.
Teresa,
So-
if you have any.
So Ken and I each purchased 25 out of our own pockets.
Yes,
And then what did the city purchase?
also 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you, Ken, but I didn't even ask how much that was going to cost before I went down to pick them up. And I
didn't either.
was,
And-
I
and
was-
my 25 are all gone. So
I was really surprised. I dropped $375 at Instaprints for 25 signs. So, so I'm very happy that we are charging $5 at least per sign. I think that's nothing to ask from people, nothing. VMO is charging $10 for their yard signs. So I hope that that's being done at the city, and maybe if we do need to print more signs next year, maybe we go with a layout that we can get 2 signs per, like we go with a half size or something like that, just to double our, cut in half our budget, maybe cut in half the
actually,
cost.
I was impressed with the signs that we got. They cost more, but I think they're going to last a whole lot longer.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
people
they
can
are
use them
beautiful.
year after year.
They are beautiful.
And when I was talking to the guy at the store, he said they were made with recycled plastic, which was
Yeah.
kind of nice.
Yeah,
And they are durable,
Yeah.
and big enough that if you're driving down the road, you can read it. That's in part thanks to Sarah making the letters big
they're
enough that
beautiful.
it's,
Yeah.
visually attractive, and you can tell what it is as you drive by. So I was impressed. I was expecting like a campaign yard sign, made
Yeah.
out of cardboard,
Yeah.
which would not have held up well to weather and stuff like this.
No.
But this, especially in May when it's a really rainy month, I think having something that's a little more durable is worth the investment.
Yeah, that was part of the conversation that Brad and I had about this, because I don't know, at the beginning I was leaning more towards doing more campaign style signs so that we could get more of them. But so the same like quality of sign that we printed for No May is what we use for the Adopt a Storm Drain program. And those are things that people like, they leave them out in their yards all year, they use them year after year. And for the most part, I think we've had to replace a few signs here and there for people, but for the most part, they hold up really well. So it was, I was also surprised not having had much experience with like printing yard signs in general. It was just more expensive than I imagined, but I'm hoping that these are good. And maybe we can consider for next year doing like a slightly smaller size.
Yeah.
We could certainly talk with Instaprints about some of those.
We'll
things.
see. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
But the school district getting involved is putting this over the top. I couldn't be more happy about that. School kids are going home, talking to their parents. Parents are calling us for a sign. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I've had some people call, and also people who filled out the form who were not Monona residents.
Yeah.
Definitely some Madison people asking like, "Wow, this is great. Can we get some?"
Yeah.
And
And they should sell them a
Yeah.
sign.
Well, I want to focus our signs on Monona residents for now, just because we have such limited ones.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Since we're a Monona committee,
Yeah.
but it's definitely like both of these two particular Madison residents were like, oh, well, I'm going to reach out to Madison and make sure that they're doing stuff like this too. So I think it's it's starting a conversation in other places.
Well,
If
If we
Monona
s-
can be the trendsetter that pushes Madison to do the right thing, that's an awesome accomplishment for our
I mean,
community.
and if we sold the signs for $5 inside the city of Monona and let them have them for $15 a sign, because that's how much they cost, more or less, right? And it says right on there, City of Monona Sustainability Committee, like Ken said, people in Madison see that. We be the trendsetter that pushes Madison people. That's pretty awesome. So just a thought, I would not be opposed to selling them for cost to people outside of the city of Monona.
Yeah,
No.
again, these will be good. We'll have to like do some calculations about how much we might want to charge for signs in the future, and then,
Yeah,
you know, just for budget for next year.
right, right.
It may be possible that if we place a larger order next year, we might get some bulk volume discount pricing, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's generally a trend with yard signs, is like you order more, it's cheaper per sign, and that was tough just because we had
Yeah, that's true.
it's so little money in the budget this year.
And no time to do any fundraising or anything like that, so.
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep moving forward if there's nothing more to say about No Mo May. Does anyone have any comments on anything that needs to be done yet? Or I think it's kind of middle of May, it's probably too late, but congratulations to everyone. This was really wonderful. And Patrick, I don't know, just to catch you up on this, the Sustainability Committee for years has been promoting No Mo May to residents just through social media and VMO and just any sort of free advertising outlet that we could. And we've talked about ordering signs, but it was always cost prohibitive. And this year, Alder Wood moved through council a change to the ordinance that would allow residents to keep their grass long during the month of May, which is embarrassing. I'm embarrassed to say that this committee was not aware of that ordinance.
I will say that I was aware because
okay.
I've gotten stickers on my door from the city to mow my lawn. So I know for a fact
Oh, wow.
that it exists and that it's enforced. So I'll just put that out there.
Wow. Okay.
So
there
I'm a
you
big
go.
fan of having this yard sign out now.
Yeah. Heck yeah. So a couple weeks ago, like end of April, I believe the New York Times ran a story about No More May and how the city of Appleton, Wisconsin sort of started this in the country. And apparently there are a lot of people in Monona that read the Times, and Alderwood and all of the alders received more comments about No More May than just about any other issue. And so that sort of pushed it all off. It sort of tipped us the tipping point, I think. And now we have signs. And I think that's making all the difference. Okay, Memorial Day Parade.
I can
Elisa.
share one
Yeah.
anecdote about No Mo May from earlier this morning. My daughter and I were just driving around in the neighborhood. I was taking her on her way to preschool, and we drove past Winnequa School, the elementary school. I think most of you probably know where that is. And they had their No Mo May signs out, and there was a whole bunch of dandelions. And of course that backs up right to Winnequa Park. And it's just kind of ironic because it was right about then that the city came by with a big lawnmower mowing Winnequa Park. So the school's participating, but the city not so much, you know.
Well,
But we got the
that's-
signs to the school thanks
that's
to
a
the city.
wonderful-
So, you know, it's a little bit of a
that's-
mixed message,
yeah.
but it's still accomplishing something. So
I'm hopeful that next year we'll have even more participation. You know, this year was the first year that I think folks outside the Sustainability Committee really had it, presented to them more, because of that ordinance change. And, but it all happened in May. Can't ask, change like that to happen. So next year, I'm hopeful that with some advanced planning, we'll get more. So. Memorial Day Parade?
Yeah, so we're registered. I guess I sort of have a request from the committee members, just like whoever is collecting or like signing people up to be a part of the parade, I think it'd be great if you could pass their contact information along to me. And I can, like, as we get closer and as I learn more details about like when we need to be there, where we need to be, those sort of logistics, I can send out an email with all of that information to anyone who's going to be in the parade.
So for Patrick's benefit, this year, the Sustainability Committee will have a presence in the Memorial Day Parade. We will be sort of a very low budget comical group. We're going to be the lawnmower brigade. So we'll be pushing non-gas powered mowers, from the real mowers to the electric mowers, and who knows, maybe even getting a little fancy, doing some synchronized movements. Who knows? We could have some fun with it. And perhaps we'll be passing out information about ways that people can change their yard care to be more sustainable and things like that. All right, so the parade route is officially back on Monona Drive. Last time we all got together, the news was still that it was back down on Broadway, but it's back to Monona Drive now. Okay.
So yeah,
Just to let you folks know, I'm not going to be at the parade. My daughter's grandparents have scheduled a visit to a water park for her birthday party, so we're going to be out of town that day.
okay, great.
So
Yeah.
this sort of moves us really nicely into the next topic, which is the calendar of outreach events for 2022. And I'm going to say 2023 as well. So I met with Elisa, and I've also talked with the mayor about this. And for this particular committee, I think we've always sort of had two areas of work, right? We've got sort of like outreach / education events, like the Memorial Day Parade, No Mo May, you know, the recycling event, and adopt a storm drain, you know, and things like that happen at certain times of the year. And then we've also tried, or we are trying, we've always tried and not sure how, we also sort of move the needle on bigger things, like moving the community toward 100% clean energy. That's a pretty daunting task, right? But we do have a resolution from the council, and that's the direction that we're all going to be moving toward. But how do you do that, right? So as we're doing these smaller projects, we also want to keep our eye on this larger goal. And so in order to accomplish both, I'll just start with the projects first. What I'd like to see the committee do is to look out for 12 months, right? And plan 12 months ahead and come up with a set list of events that we are going to commit to doing. And for each of those events, one person on this committee would take the lead. You don't have to do all the work, you're just the point person for that event. So let's say Memorial Day Parade, somebody is the point person for that. What that means is that that person is going to sort of, well, and for each of the projects, I'm just going to call them projects, right? Projects have a beginning and an end. That's the definition of a project. Otherwise, it's a program. It just goes on and on forever. So for each of these little projects, the point person would, during one of our meetings, we would all brainstorm everything that could be part of that project. You know, who needs to know, when do they need to know it? What kind of advertising should we do? Should we purchase anything? How much should we spend? You know, is there outreach beyond Monona that needs to be done? We all come together, we brainstorm, you know, everything that needs to go into that project plan. Who at the city needs to know? Is there already a city program that we can piggyback on? You know, everything like that. And then I'd like to present that to the mayor for her blessing. And then the contact person on this committee is free to run with that project. And the contact person can also recruit people from the community to get that work done, which further expands the outreach of this community, of this committee. So one of the things was the National Night Out. We have in the past had a sustainability event where we brought in electric vehicles, like an electric vehicle showcase. And a lot of people in town with EVs, a lot of nice Teslas, kind of really cool. And people could just walk up and look at the cars, right? So whoever might be the contact person for that National Night Out event would report back to the committee at each of our monthly meetings just to give us an update on how that project is going. So that's what I think could be a good way that we get on top and we get a year out on these events, and nothing takes people by surprise. So whoever wants to be in charge of No Mo May for 2023, you might have conversations with Jake at Parks and Rec right now. You might have conversations with Dan Stefani right now at Public Works, right? So, and probably the easiest way to do that is to go over to one of the beer garden events and just talk to Jake, you know, in a casual environment. Doesn't take any of his time. He's there anyway. So just things like that, that you can have it on your to-do list with plenty of advance notice, because I think that the springing things on the last minute is what ruffles people's feathers at the city. That's one of the things that I've heard some feedback on, that you know, people want more advance notice, and rightly so. And another piece of feedback that that I have heard is that we need to be better aware of how things get done in a city and how it takes a long time and things move very slowly sometimes. And so all of this comes back to more advance notice. So there are those projects, and then there is this larger movement toward clean energy in the city of Monona. There's also, as Susan brought up earlier, this committee years ago put years of work into developing a sustainability plan. We hired consultants. It was like a 2-year endeavor. And once it was approved through city council, there just was some timing of new committee members coming and going, new alder people coming and going, a new sustainability project manager was hired for the city. And it just and the person who had been part of the creation of the plan left and took a new job. And the plan just sort of was sort of set to the side. And there's some hope among city leaders that our committee would revisit that plan and look at it and find ways that we can move the city toward clean energy, following some of the things that are outlined in the plan, or things that are not related to energy. You know, the plan covered land use, water, built structures like buildings, solid waste, you know, so there were some things in the plan that we can resurrect and check off. And I think it would help improve our reputation as a committee if we went back to that plan and started to just look at it again and see what perhaps could already be checked off, what have we already accomplished, and what might we want to pick up moving forward. Sustainability as a committee operates rather differently than a lot of committees on the city. I just want to make sure, and what I mean by that is, you know, we we have a little more, how do I say this? The things that we are involved in are not, how do I say this? I mean, public works, for example, right? I mean, you have to have that in order to have a city. Parks, it's just part of the city, right?
It's more independence, I think. We have in some ways more independence, and we're
Independence,
and
yeah,
at the same time we're cooperative with
Right.
all those other units.
right.
And
So we are trying to bring something extra to the city of Monona. Whereas a lot of the other committees are sort of satisfying the minimum requirements of running a city. We're trying to bring something a little extra to enhance, city operations. And so some people, I think there might be perspective that perhaps an outsider's perspective on our committee that, we might be in need of some credibility, or we might be in need of some legitimacy. Because it may be the case that we are seen by some as, sort of like an extra little group of dreamers, with these wonderful big ideas, so being able to check off some very concrete things, as we have been doing, but I think that'll be very beneficial. So my personal plan is to meet more regularly with the mayor and to loop her in more regularly with the plans we have for some of those ongoing projects throughout the next 12 months. And to make sure that, like, for example, if we plan to do a tree planting activity, some sort of a project, looping her in earlier would help loop in parks and public works more effectively. We tried to do that and it just didn't happen this time around.
So I don't know if you wanted a little bit of feedback or
Yeah.
on that, Teresa. I think your first idea about like trying to lay out events and projects for the next year is a really good idea, because there's more stuff that we could work on than we have bandwidth for. So I think especially laying it out on a calendar so that we can figure out, so we aren't trying to do 2 events at the same time, and that we're allocating our work efficiently over time, and that we, there's going to be some things that we just choose not to do. So I think it would be a good idea to make that laundry list of things, and for the stuff that has, specific dates attached to it, look at where it sits on the calendar, and then decide and prioritize how we want to spend our efforts. I think that makes total sense, especially given that we've had a lot of turnover in the committee with new membership and stuff like that. I think that's a good sort of strategic thing to do. I do think revisiting the sustainability plan is a smart idea. I mean, I think that plan's from 2015, so it's 7 years old.
I know.
And it refers to other documents on the city website related to energy
that
are from 2010. So, or they're not there. Yeah, right.
I know.
So I do think, it would be a good idea to look at that and, at least refresh it, if nothing else.
Right.
And, if there's stuff there that's no longer relevant, to remove it then, so that.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Otherwise, people look at it and wonder what we're doing, and it's no longer relevant. So I think that's
a really good way to put it. No, that's what you just said is, yes, that's not so much just follow the plan, but update it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think your other point was, that, and I've only been on this committee for 6 months. So, my perspective is maybe that of a newcomer, much like Patrick. The committee does have these sort of 2 things. One is the community outreach side, like with what we're doing with the No Mo May, and the other is, as I understood it anyways, when the mayor appointed me, to help influence and shape city policy.
Yeah.
My general sense so far has been that this committee is kind of viewed as separate from the rest of city operations, and that the rest of city operations feels like they have everything under control and they don't really need our input. and that we
Right.
should be focused on the community outreach. And if that's the case,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Mhm.
Whether it's for the college or for the school district, focus real sustainability for the organization. And if the function for this committee is more to do public outreach and community stuff and leave the operation of the city to the city folks, I mean, that's all right. It's just, we just need to know if that's what our mission is, you know?
Right.
Otherwise, we're bashing our heads against the wall to ask for Parks and Rec to have a meeting with us when they don't want to talk to us, or,
Right.
you know, volunteering to try and, you know, work on forestry grants when they aren't interested in doing them with us. And,
Right.
you know, we'd be better off partnering with the school district on stuff than,
Yep.
you know, because the school district wants to, you know?
Yep. Yep. No, 100%. So I think there's a sentiment that, you know, what about that sustainability plan? Why aren't you doing anything about that plan? Well, like you said, Ken, it's outdated. So let's just put that argument to rest in some way, however we choose to do that, whether it's pointing out that it's outdated or updating it where it can be updated, or somehow make people realize that we haven't abandoned it. Because I think that really is still what a lot of people are talking about. And yeah, shaping policy. One
I
of the
think
things,
some of the things done in the plan, have been done in the plan too.
right, exactly. So let's
And
check it,
another
that it's
reason
done.
for saying
Exactly.
We don't need
Yeah,
those
in that
pieces
case,
of
we should plant a flag and claim victory, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Some things, yes.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And as far as like influencing policy goes, I think more regular meetings with the mayor could be helpful in that way, just to sort of slowly sort of like normalize and keep the conversation moving at all the time. Sustainability is a standing part of the city council agendas. Just like diversion, equity, and inclusion is a standing point on the agenda, so is sustainability now. So there always will be something to share at every city council meeting about sustainability, which is wonderful. And maybe we as a committee want to capitalize on that and think of ways to push out that message. It's not meant to be a time during the city council meeting for Patrick and I to talk about what's going on in our committee. It's meant to be a time when everybody talks about what they are doing to advance sustainability. Let's hope that that's what it becomes. And let's maybe think of ways that we can make it that way. We also are in need of 2 more committee members. And when I met with the mayor this morning, what I proposed to her, sort of getting back to what Ken is talking about, like influencing policy, and I proposed to her that we seek out some expertise for these 2 new committee appointments, and that perhaps we even focus on finding money. I mean, maybe we need someone with their eye on the federal level, their eye at the state level, to figure out like where are grant opportunities available, what are some of the laws that are changing that we can take advantage of as we look at a new public safety building, as we look at, you know, whatever we might be doing in the city. That could be some expertise that we want to look for. Someone with grant writing expertise, someone that could help us in that way.
Yeah, I think we have a lot more agency over outreach related stuff. And so I do really like the idea of having a calendar of things that we know we're going to do each year. I feel like we've already got some things we know we do, like Earth Day and No Mow May, but we could fill that out for other parts of the year. And yeah, I agree that like obviously doing anything that is bigger, more operational projects takes more collaboration and communication with other departments, since those are often not like decisions that fall to this committee specifically. So I would say that if there are specific projects that we want to advocate for, it's going to be similar to outreach, like an exercise in planning in advance and knowing where and when it is best to advocate for certain projects. So yeah, definitely. Anyway, that's my piece on it from like the staff perspective.
Elisa and I also talked about perhaps in June for our next month's meeting, we talk about like the budget process, the budget cycle, like how we need to, apply for, how the city council budget process works, so that we understand that cycle as a committee a little bit better. We also talked about the two things that everybody needs more of, right? Money and resources, time, in this case, the time of our city staff. And we have very little of both. So Elisa has Mondays and Wednesdays that she works at the city, and 60 or 70% of her time is working with the planning commission, not the sustainability work. So maybe she gets 5 good hours a week that she can dedicate to sustainability. That's it. And we talked about how, and from my talk with the mayor, it does not seem like that will change. Elisa, have you announced yet to this? Am I letting the cat out of the bag?
No, I feel like most people know. I'll be leaving my position over the summer. So I'll be here through the July committee meeting through mid-July. But yeah, I'm going to grad school in the fall. So
wow, congratulations. That's
Isn't
awesome.
that wonderful?
yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Where and what will you be studying?
Where and what?
I will be moving to Boston. I'll be attending Tufts University out there, and I'm going for urban planning. Hence the 60 to 70% of my time being taken up by urban planning related stuff for the city.
Oh, that'll be fantastic. You'll do great.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited.
It really is. It's wonderful. Yeah. So,
Teresa, in the few conversations that I've had with Brad and Jake, I think every time I've spoke with them, they've told me that they need more money.
Right.
Which means, like, if we as a committee advocate for getting more money, they're not going to like that because it's going to come away from somebody else in the city government.
right.
So the only way this committee is going to get money is if we go out and find it for ourselves.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's why I
Brad's
think
not interested in really doing grants with us because he'd have to match. And I talked to Jake about a forestry grant, and he didn't seem really interested in doing that either because he wants to do it himself. So, I think we just have to think about activities that this committee can do independently and raise our own money for it somehow, because otherwise we're going to be seen as competing with other units of the municipal government, and then we won't get any cooperation.
what I was thinking though is, for this committee, similar to the school district, the sustainability committee in the school district analyzes the opportunities, present and researches opportunities financially, like grants and other opportunities, and then presents it to the school board for them to make the final decision, which is what I believe we could be for the city. The city planner knows how to do his job. Jake knows how to do his job. The zoning committee knows how to do their job, but we just find and present opportunities to them that would make their job easier, make it easy for them to implement sustainable strategies.
Yeah, I think if we found money to give to them, they'd
Yes.
appreciate that.
Yes.
But I don't think they'd
Absolutely.
like it if we go to the city and ask
No,
for money
no,
for our
no.
committee.
No. Nope, that's not what I'm saying whatsoever. No, it's the first, find money for the city, just like we found money for the school district. So with that, some expertise in that area would really be fabulous for like new committee members, people who really, Ken, I'd love to cut you into 10 pieces. I mean, I'm clone you, but I know that that's, not, so someone like you that always, you were aware, you're always bringing that information to the district, to the school district. It's wonderful. There's got to be opportunities like that a municipality can take.
Would legal expertise be valuable? I mean, in terms of you're talking about policy and stuff, I mean, that's
I don't
another
know.
possible way we could look. And the other one I was just thinking of is there any, you're talking, I think, about, well, specific expertise, but I'm thinking of connections also. Would it be good to have a student, a high school student on the committee?
I thought about the high school student too. I don't know. I think that might be nice. The community media committee just got a high school student, but that committee, it makes sense because they work so closely with the high school,
Sure.
but yeah, Susan, I thought about that too. That might be kind of nice.
Just to throw out, I mean.
Yeah. I don't know what legal expertise is helpful. I'm not sure. Like, is there some environmental law that we need to be aware of? I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking you're going to review policies. Did we ever really do a thorough review of the city
ordinances where we were talking about reviewing the ordinances for we did some time ago when Brad was on the committee, and we talked a little bit about water runoff for the homes that are along Lake Monona, Monona. And I think there was some talk about like incentives for, porous
driveways or something.
Yeah, things like
hardscapes.
Yeah, hardscape, right. Yeah. But then it sounds like we're trying to boss people around, and that does not go over well.
Mhm.
So it's tricky. But
Okay.
Yeah, no mow May is easier because you're just asking people to be lazy and not do
Right.
something, right? Just
Exactly.
sit on your hands and it takes care of itself.
Exactly. It's tricky. It's tricky, people feel that we're shaming them, into action, or people feel like we're, trying to push our recommendations. It's tricky.
Yeah.
But everybody speaks money. So if there are opportunities out there that we can make our community aware of, that would be fantastic. Okay, so next on the agenda, calendar of events. I don't want to take too much of our time, but I think for our next meeting in June, let's come prepared to put some events on the calendar. We've already got a lot of them that we already talked about. No Mow May, adopt a storm drain in the fall, recycling event, maybe want to do a tree event, whatever it might be. Let's come with some plans for next month. And then, and
just one note on that.
Yeah.
You mentioned the trees. I think the library is going to do a tree program with Lisa Johnson, outreach person. She does talks on the radio and stuff about gardening, but has a lot of expertise in this area. But doing something like we are doing with the No Mow May, like plant a tree kind of thing. Working really hard on trying to present these as very positive things for people to do, uplifting things, but also connecting each of our programs this year to the environmental issues that we're dealing with and the need for this, but also making people aware of the benefits, financial comfort, enjoyment, that they can get, shading for their roof, less cost on their, electricity, these kinds of things as a lead in, so that there is something very positive about it. I'm probably poetry or something, at the beginning of, it's just to kind of put a different flavor on it and a spin on it, and hopefully reach some of those things that you're talking about. But maybe an event like that, a regular during tree planting season would be a good thing to do.
And even though we were not really able to get the attention of, like, when we wanted to do a tree event for Arbor Day, even though the collaboration with Parks and Public Works didn't happen as we hoped it would. I'm hopeful that there's still room for that to happen down the road, but just perhaps with more advanced notice and more, just more advanced notice, I think. And perhaps we help promote existing programs rather than trying to compete with any program that they already have. Perhaps sustainability.
Well, and ours wouldn't focus on, anything in the parks or that kind of thing. It would be focusing on helping people plant. And it's
Yeah.
not just the planting, it's the caring for the tree that they need help with.
Yeah.
Because a lot of trees get planted and they just don't last very long. So it's kind of getting all those pieces in there. And then it's not a big cost necessarily at the outset, but it's kind of gets them into that. And if they kind of care enough about it and feel good about it, or maybe they have a little sign, I planted a tree on it, just like they have the storm drain sign or whatever, I can see things that people might feel positive about and do. And sometimes spreading trees out is better than having them all in one place too. So they're having a lot of trouble with these reforestation projects because it doesn't always work economically and so on for people, and so it competes with other things. But anyway,
Yeah.
Well, I can say my family planted a tree with Jake in the Parks Department in the microforest, and it was a great activity. I mean, I'm really glad they did it, and they also did a little planting with the 4th grade students from Winnequa Elementary School, and they're right next to each other, so you can see the big $500 trees that the community bought, and then the free trees that the kids got from the DNR. So I'm glad that they're doing that. But if you think about the sort of the scope and scale of the problem we're facing with losing mature trees in the community versus how many got planted, the effort that's currently happening is just, it's not sufficient to meet the need. And if the only trees that get planted are on city property, there's not enough space to replace all the mature trees that are being lost on private property. So you need to have residential homeowners and businesses involved planting trees. And that's, I think, where this committee could get involved, where Parks and Rec isn't going to do that, right?
No.
We can still support the Parks and Rec program, and I totally would encourage us to do so. And I think next year, the school district for sure will be even more involved on Arbor Day. I'm pretty confident between Teresa and I, we can push them in that direction.
Yep.
But I think having a community-wide, effort to plant more trees on Arbor Day in people's yards and in business places would be a good thing for this committee to contribute.
And maybe that's something that we put on the calendar. Like maybe we have like a big, 2023 is like a big push for tree planting or something. I don't know.
Well, and it can be a rolling thing too. I mean, people
Yeah.
have to make their own decisions. Where do they need to spend their money for this year?
Right.
So I think it's not, it would take a multiple year thing, I think, to get up. And I like the idea of, having these events at parks and stuff. It gives people experience planting trees and, programs like the library one, which maybe brings people together that have different levels of expertise and can help each other, and pair up in the meeting and say, okay, I'll come help you plant your tree.
Susan, how's this library program working? What are they actually organizing, and what's sort of the timetable?
It's this particular event. I mean, this isn't all planned in with that. This is mainly just to talk about tree planting. And I'm hoping she's going to focus on caring for the tree as well as planting it, but choosing the right thing, choosing the right, tree, the right place, the right, to do what you want to do with your tree. What do you want your tree to do for you? I think I'm hoping that is the way that it's a canned talk, but I'd like to focus it that way at the beginning and at the end of the program. So it's still in my head right now and not, a definite anything yet, but it's coming up in June. So it's coming up very quickly. It's the 4th Tuesday in June. And as we kind of develop the background and context of the presentation, I'm hoping, and any input you all have or thoughts that you have now, throw them at me quick, because it's my program. This one happens to be assigned to me. So I figured this was a good one to get involved with because it links me to what we're talking about here as well. So,
I think that
but
program to have, when somebody, it's a pretty permanent commitment, it's going to be part of your landscape for a long time. So you want to make the decision correctly, right? You want to get the right tree for the right location. Make sure you have a tree that matches your soil. Make sure you have a tree that is going to grow to fit the landscape and not overwhelm it.
Right.
And make sure you're not planting a nuisance species or something that's going to become a hazard.
Right.
And the city does have a list of preferred tree species, and your average homeowner isn't aware of any of these kinds of things. So
That's right.
you can't convey that information frequently enough, in my opinion. And a person that comes to the presentation in June is just starting to think about planting a tree. It might not actually happen until next year in Arbor Day that it actually gets executed,
Exactly
right?
That's right. We hope to just plant seeds.
Susan, when is the program at the library?
It's the June program, I believe, and it's the last Tuesday. And the programs are always the last Tuesday of the month.
And that's at the library?
Yes.
Okay.
Great. Susan, I'll probably send you an email. Just I'd love to be able to promote that on like the website and our Facebook page when it comes around.
The library it promotes it too on their own page. So I mean, that's a big, broad audience, but yes, for sure. That would be great if you want to do that. Yeah, I will tell Penny that you're interested. And I think whoever's, we're kind of rushed because things got delayed quite a long time, with me being otherwise occupied, which I still kind of am. And so anyway, with things that are going on in my life, but and I may have to be away actually in part of June. I'm not really sure. I'm probably going to be away a week in June, right before the presentation, but I'm hoping to have everything on my end done by then. But
I like the idea of leveraging the connection with the library for public outreach. And if we were serious about trying to do something with trees next year for Arbor Day, I could see maybe a series of presentations with the library sort of leading up to that. Most people, and we're on this committee, so we all think about our surroundings and the environment around us, and we probably recognize what trees are in our yard, but most people don't, right? Most people just know that the ash tree had to come down because it had an insect, and they want to get a new tree, but they don't know the difference between a maple and an oak, right? So like I could imagine a whole nother presentation where you just brought in a forester that talked about native tree species to Monona and went through aspects of different trees and what they looked like, what their fall colors were, what they flowered like in the spring, how big they would get, and just educate people about what the choices might be for what to plant in their landscape to take the place of the ash tree.
right.
What trees are appropriate for planting underneath power lines? What trees are appropriate for planting in shade? What can you plant near a black walnut that tends to kill everything else underneath it, right? These are all things that your average homeowner has no idea about.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm thinking, just like so that we can nail down certain, like what exact outreach things do we want to do throughout the year? One of the things that I'll put together for the next meeting is just, I'll make a little calendar of the events that we already know we're going to do, and maybe some other campaigns and sort of when they happen throughout the year, just to help us visualize, like, so that we're not trying to do a million things all in the same month, but have it sort of spread out so we're not spread too thin at any particular point.
Sure, that sounds good.
Yeah, and then we can, after that, then we can brainstorm ideas about.
Right, and we can always build. I mean, this is not a one-off. I mean, we tend to, in these programs, we try to do, we don't do usually a series on the same thing through the year. We generally do, the variety of things. Another big project I'd love to see launched is water conservation, because we did a competition through this, the library through Sustainability Committee, actually several years ago, and it was very popular. And I think we could do that again, and is an important one to do again. But I think we, in the programming that exists right now, they tend to, do each month some different aspect. But we try to bring different things in. And what we're trying to do now is build more resources so that people can, come to the website and say, okay, if you have a question about this, here's a good contact person, here's a good thing, because people who come to that program are really engaged, or if they walk home with a tree, which I don't know that we'll have them do. That's been a thought at times, but I don't know how efficient or effective that is. But anyway, it's just trying to figure out how better to get that to work cooperatively with what they do and how they do it. I mean, I don't have the last say in what that picture looks like, but I think that they will be eager to have our support and interest. I think that's definitely the case. Sorry. Yeah.
Teresa, you're on mute.
Muted, Teresa.
In the interest of time, I need to cut the conversation on this. Sorry. I want to keep our meetings going. So, so it's almost 8 o'clock now. So what I'm hearing from Elisa is that in June, she's going to have a calendar that we're going to look at, and we're going to plot some events on the calendar, and we're going to assign a point person to each event. And as a committee, we will decide what we're going to take on for the next 12 months. And something that is immediately ahead of us is the Memorial Day Parade. And I don't believe we have a point person for this activity. It is, so today's Thursday, it's 2.5 weeks ahead of us is the Memorial Day Parade. We don't have much planned other than a concept, and we need to have something planned. So I think we need to focus on that for the remainder of our time tonight, and know that
I can make a suggestion, Teresa, that might be helpful. I think it might be a good idea to start like a Google form for people to sign up if they're planning to be in the parade, and just to indicate if they're bringing a push mower or an electric mower, if they're planning to make a sign, if they're going to be in the parade by themselves or with their family members, how many people are attending with them. So you guys have an idea, who's all there, and who you need to be communicating with leading up to the event. Just
So
names and emails and maybe cell phone numbers or something like that.
What would the Google form have on it, Ken? What are you thinking? Would it be used as a recruiting tool? Would it be used as a sign-up tool?
I'm thinking just a sign-up form so that you know who you're expecting to have there, and you can make sure everybody knows where it starts, what time they need to be there. Otherwise somebody's going to forget, or they're not going to show up, or they're not going to remember. And you folks want to know how many people you're going to have too, right? Whether it's 100 or it's 10, it's a big difference, right?
Right. So I just want to make sure we don't drop the ball on this, because it is coming up. Before we next get together, this parade will happen. So we won't have another meeting to talk about this. So a Google form. Ken, could I ask you to throw something together and give us an idea of what you're thinking about? I am not familiar with Google form.
Sure, I can make one
once or twice,
quick and easy and send it out to the group.
And then then do we need something like a little graphic that we can email to people inviting them to be part of the parade? Or are we just going to do this word of mouth? Are we just going to say, ask people if they'd like to be part of the parade? It sure would be nice to have some sort of a graphic, a flyer, not a flyer, but just like a graphic that we can email or text to people that says, the Monona, Memorial Day Mower Brigade, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I can put a graphic together if you feel that would be helpful for outreach stuff.
What would be some of the points that it would need to include? Or Ken, are you thinking that the Google form covers this? I mean, I think what we need is a recruiting tool. I think that's what we need. I don't know how many people are, do you know, Elisa, how many people are signed up to be a part of the parade?
I think so far it's mostly been word of mouth. I know Nancy was also talking with lots of people about it.
Right.
And that was part of why I wanted it on the agenda tonight, just to make sure that we're coordinating on that. So if Ken makes a Google form and can send it to me, or like, I would definitely send it to Nancy as well. And then anyone she knows who would be interested, we can get a sense for how many people there are going to be. And then, yeah, great point. We can then like have everyone on an email to make sure we're coordinating.
So, you know, just to note, like, this isn't a new idea. There's other communities that have done this. They usually call it like the Green Mower Brigade or whatever. And there's pictures we could steal off the web to use. I'll put a link to a page in the chat.
Okay.
If people want to look at it. And like, I could just lift that image and stick it at the top of the Google form. And if people wanted to use an image from that web page in an email to invite people, that would be a workable thing. We could put something on the city web page for people to link to if we wanted to, I suppose.
Okay.
But I think having a sign up form would help, just to know how many people are going to be there, right?
Right.
I think the parade organizers would like to know how many of these lawnmowers are going to be. You know,
we estimated at the last meeting, we said 10 to 15 people with mowers. So that's what I put on our registration form. I'm sure it's a little bit flexible, but
yeah. So, you know, if 100 people showed up with lawnmowers, that wouldn't be good, because the whole parade would be a brigade of lawnmowers, and then there's a few marching band trumpets at the end, right? Like, that's too many, you know. So, but at the same time, if it's only 2 lawnmowers, that's not good either, right? You need to have critical mass to justify doing it. So,
right.
Well,
So,
who from the committee is actually attending? Because I think both on the sign up form and on any graphic, you know, having a point person who's the one who's going to be standing there at the lineup, having been in more parades than I can count, you know, the lineup is very particular, and you don't meet at the start of the parade. You're somewhere else waiting for the parade to start, you know, those things. And I know, you know, Ken has said he can't do it. I'll be in a different parade, a different Memorial Day parade in northwestern Wisconsin. So I think that would be the first thing, is who from this committee is actually going to be there on Memorial Day.
And unfortunately, it can't be me, because we've got scouts and a float that we're working on. So that's what I'll be occupied with.
Yeah, I might also be out of town that weekend, so I can't commit to
See,
being there.
this is why I wanted to ask, because I didn't know who was actually, if anyone, be here.
Right. I mean,
I'm
Nancy's
not
no
sure
longer
whether
on
I'm
the
going to make it either. It just
And
depends on
Nancy's out of town right now.
the situation.
Yeah,
This might
I
just
know this
all-
was something that Nancy was really interested in championing, and
Yeah.
so, and if she is planning to be there, like, maybe that she is the point person. I obviously don't want to like volunteer her because she's not here, but since this was something that she had presented to the committee, I think it's worth asking her if she's willing to be that person, since it seems like no one right now is ready to commit to that.
Yeah, okay. So I'll reach out to Nancy and see if she plans to be in town for Memorial Day. And if she does not, I'm leaning toward dropping this event. Would anyone else object to that? Yeah, there's just too much work to be done in 2 weeks.
yeah, and it sounds like we don't have a critical mass of committee members, unless Nancy's got a group already assembled in her hip pocket that's planning.
Right.
And she might. I know she's like, she's talked to people about it. So that's like, I don't want to say we need to like drop it right now, but just be realistic, I guess.
I agree. Okay. So that's my action, is to reach out to Nancy. Then I'll put that on my notes. Okay. And then I'll do that immediately so that Ken knows whether to make a Google form. How about that? And then that puts us on to the end
We'll
of our
make the
meeting.
form one way or another, Teresa, and then we have it for next year, if nothing else.
Okay.
So
That's a good idea, Ken. That's a good idea. So the one thing we skipped over, and then we'll wrap up the meeting really quickly, is part 7, diversity, equity, inclusion discussion items. Is there anything that folks would like to share about any activities that you've been involved in, or any anything you want to bring up that would tie into that topic? I know that's something that all committees are asked to dedicate some time during each meeting to that topic.
I would say the only staff update I have is just that I know the DEI, like the ad hoc DEI committee, is working on their report and will maybe be finishing that up soon. So certainly when that's done and has been presented, I'm happy to send a link to that out to the committee members so you can read through what some of the recommendations were.
Fantastic. Fantastic. All right, if there's nothing more to add, I'm going to call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to
I'll
adjourn.
move to-
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
take
you.
2 seconds.
Bye.
Hi.
Hi, sweetie.
Bye, everybody. Have a good night.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.